going hot. Let's say you have a need to hit a target at 1,500 yards with precision. Oh, and by the way, when the bullet gets there, you want it to hit hard. You want it to have some knockdown power, maybe some obstacle defeating capabilities. A gun you might want to look at that we're going to discuss in detail in this tabletop review, the Savage 110 FCP in 338 Lapua Magnum. I like to think I know you guys, my subscribers who have stuck with me all these years, who are so patient with me as I put the spotlight in TMP on different subjects. Right now, perhaps you've noticed, it is on precision long-range shooting. Now, shooting long-range is fun. I mean, it's fun, it's challenging, it's a science, it's an art. Everything I said in the philosophy video that we'll release next to this one, very close, dispelling long-range shooting myths, or something to that effect. I talk about it there. It's fun. And if you haven't done it, be careful, because you too may just catch the bug. The emphasis on this tabletop review won't really be philosophy. It's going to be this gun, which, you know, subject to change with even more shooting, I've done a lot to this point, is excellent. The Savage 110 FCP and 338 Lapua Magnum. Now, in the background, and I still like this gun, I don't want guys to misunderstand, but I did post a video not too long ago, kind of blasting the Remington 700, and I think it's well deserved. I'm not going to go over all that stuff. Watch the 300 Winchester Magnum Remington 700 review. I cover this gun and another one that we have since sold. It's gone. In that video, and you'll see it there. You know, and I think the 300 Win Mag, we'll talk a little bit more about that here in ballistics. Still a great option. However, you're going to see Savage getting a lot of things right that the Remington 700 misses. And it's going to be fun as we go over the details. And be careful, you may just want this gun. There are some caveats. I'm really honest with my audience. I'm going to say, watch out for this. Be careful of that. We're going to talk about value. We're going to talk about this, ammunition cost. Now, before I jump into the models, we're going to have a real short discussion on philosophy of use, because most of that's in the philosophy video. A little bit about the cartridge we're going to cover. I don't know if you guys ever considered this, going back to the funness of what's going on, the long range. I don't know if you ever thought of my role in TMP like this, is I'm a producer of a show. First and foremost, I'm the primary cast member, yes, but I'm a producer of the show. And I look at our topics, you know, what do I want to post? Sometimes I know my interests will coincide like this with your guys' interests, and then, you know, the planets align and everyone's singing Kumbaya and totally stoked. Sometimes I'm posting stuff that I know my audience won't like, but I post it anyhow. I don't do stuff gratuitously. I don't do it for views. I don't do it to be popular. I don't do it to be cool. It's got to be genuine. That's the only way I have a voice at this table. You guys know that. But lately, within the last month or so, last 2 months, I'm really happy with the show. Really happy. The content is better than I've ever done before. I just really like it. Granted, it's a lot of the same topics like knives, guns, philosophy, some political stuff. I'm really happy with it. I wish, you know, it'd be devoured more by you guys, because I'd post more. I still think it's very slowly consumed, and so I have to throttle back. And I have. I'll just check the numbers like, hasn't been watched enough. I'll go ride a motorcycle. But now, the spotlight, like I said, is on long range. And it's fun. Awesome. Guys dig it. You remember Seinfeld? When Kramer used to talk about cat fights. You know, 2 women fighting. And how funny that episode was. That's how long range shooting is with a lot of gun guys. They're like, what did he say? Long range? Turn off the TV. I'm watching this. I'll tell you what, I'm more understanding. I get it, man. I get it. It's fun. The question is, and I said this in the philosophy video, you know, how much money do you have to get into this game? That's the first question. And kind of the second question is, how hard do you want to hit when you get into the game? Because there's a lot of calibers that will do long range. They'll do 1,000, 1,100, 1,500 yards. Well, maybe not 1,500, but 1,000. A ton of calibers will do that. You're going to have to kind of decide. I've always liked the 338 Lapua. And we're going to talk about some ballistics. Not quite yet, because I got to go over the models. By way of introduction, ladies and gentlemen, this is model number, I hope I'm saying this right, 19481. Again, 110 FCP 338 Lapua Magnum. Here's a catalog. No. Dadgum, Savage does a good job of value. I don't know if these guns really attract the tactical elitist. You guys know that term, right? Who's a tactical elitist? Well, if you don't, it's a guy that's really never satisfied with a high value option that has all kinds of first cool. They're like, it's not good enough. Well, why isn't it good enough? Well, it doesn't have this. Well, yeah, it does. Well, it doesn't look this way. Yeah, it does. It doesn't shoot good. Yes, it does. And you can provide all the data to them, and they'll still just go, I don't like it. I think Savage is a lot like that. Guys are just, I hate Savage. Maybe Remington's like that too. Not me. And the focus of this review is on first kind of cool. Functionality, capability in role, in the philosophy of use designated. And in that, this gun, from what I know, it pretty much rocks. So this is the version right here. Okay, there's another one, and this is a 2013 catalog. I don't know if these photos represent it. I'll roll in some screenshots. Another one you can get that's very similar is a Savage 111 Long Range Hunter, also in 338 Lapua Magnum. Be careful though, because that one has, I think, an Accu stock on it. Worth the extra money, dudes. Yeah, just go ahead and pony up for the few extra bucks, get that stock. This stock rules. It's really good. I like your traditional stock. I am opening up to non-traditional stocks. Keep watching. We'll talk about some other options that you may be stoked about. Yeah, so that's an option, the Long Range Hunter. It has kind of a raised, or a raisable cheek piece on it. It's okay. I'm not super stoked on that version. The barrel's identical. It has a muzzle brake, fluted barrel. Takes the same mags. Very similar gun. It's going to be cheaper. You have the Savage 112 Magnum target. I think if it's more of an F-class shooter, it's a single shot. 12 pounds. It's number 22448. Laminate stock. I don't know. Single shot? No, not for what I want to do with the gun. Forget it. If you're an F-class guy, I say rock on. I'm sure it's excellent. And I'm not covering every version that's been made, that will be made, of course. I'm just kind of breezing through them. The Savage 110 BA has been out forever. You may be wondering why I'm not bringing that to the table. If you've been watching the project and you know my philosophies, you should know. It is too darn heavy. Too darn heavy. I don't like the looks of it. It's model 18900. 16 pounds naked, I think, is what that weighs. With that really heavy, stiff, I'll give you that. It's a stiff aluminum chassis. Forget it. 110 BA. I mean, there's guys that totally love it. They just, the 110 BA is cool. And I haven't shot it. Maybe it's even more accurate than this with that really stiff stock. And I guess we can kind of flex into it now. What the philosophy, my personal philosophy for going with a 338 Lapua Magnum is this. And I'm going to break it out right here. Is I really want that. 50 BMG. That's really what I want. In the philosophy of firepower versus mobility, as far as civilians go, I mean, you can go into 20 millimeter. That's not a realistic option for civilians. 50 cal is, though. Lots of guns chambered in 50 BMG. It's a great cartridge. But there's not a lot of lightweight guns chambered in it. That's number one. The ammo's really heavy. The ammo's really expensive. Granted, 338 Lapua is pretty close to it. I get it. This is what I'd really want. When we talk about a long-range precision heavy hitter, that's what we're talking about. Something that can do some damage, that can go through glass, that can go through metal. That it has serious knockdown power, that it goes through body armor at that distance. Reference philosophy of use video. Like that. But is it realistic? Number one, the cost of the gun is up there. 50 cal guns are just expensive. I mean, we're talking, You know, 3 is nothing. $3,000 to spend for a 50 BMG, nothing. You know, Barrett 99, that's an expensive gun. Custom's expensive guns. There's some out there, you know, Armlight I think makes that one. But more importantly, you know, the initial cost is not really a showstopper to a lot of people, but the size is. You know, lugging a 20-pound, 25-pound rifle around in a man-portable system, you can forget it. You know, especially if you have other stuff to take. Broken record, right? You know, stuff I've talked about a lot. So I go 338 Lapua. So let's look at the cartridges. Here's 50 BMG. Here comes 338 Lapua. Whoa, that 50 is huge. We know this, no doubt. And it hits hard. It's amazing ballistically. It's funny, though, that this round here holds, currently, you know, the long-range sniping record. 2707 yards by that Brit in Afghanistan. So it's capable. It can get the job done. The effective range is more around 1,700 yards for this. That's the way I think of it. This one's longer. But the gun right here, dudes, you can carry it. Let's talk about the weight real quick. And heck, I'll show you the weight. Before I put everything on, bipod, scope, rings, it comes with a base. The weight was like 10 pounds, and I could be off, I think, 14 ounces. That's pretty good for a 338 Lapua Magnum. Going back to that BA version, not so light. Here comes the scale. What do you think this 338 Lapua Magnum is going to weigh? Let's take a look. I think you're going to be surprised. If you know precision bolt action guns, check that. Can you see it? 13 pounds, 3 ounces for a 338 Lapua Magnum? Dudes, that's light for that cartridge. You know, try to get a 50 to do it, and even if you did, it would probably rock your world so much you wouldn't want to practice with it. It's not enjoyable to shoot. You'd hate it. Muzzle brake or no muzzle brake. It's like, it's too freaking loud, even with double ear protection. It's blowing your eardrums out. By the way, I didn't see that at all with this. I put the foam in, I put these in, and I was good. Now, granted, I ain't standing on the side of that muzzle brake over there. If you are, it's going to be loud. Well, actually, I take that back. While filming Tactical Doodle shooting it, or Mike shooting it, I did stand beside it. Not directly, but kind of in the blast zone. And I was like, yeah, it's doable. It's not that bad. The question is, and this is what I kind of alluded to in the entry, is which caliber do you want to go with? 50, for me, I'm going to say I may not go and review a 50 here or there, but I just don't know if it's that realistic for a man-portable gun that'd do. And I'm talking like that you'd have to heave-ho over hill and dale. If it's a competitive gun, a recreational gun, then who cares?
It is awesome.
You know, you're pulling it out the trunk of the Corolla at the range. Who cares how much it weighs? In fact, weight's almost a good thing when you want to settle the gun down and make that long-range shot. I kind of think of the 338 Lapua as a souped-up 300 Win Mag. I know, there's differences. You know, for instance, I don't know, the diameter of the bullet. But that's kind of how I think of it. I think this is a souped-up 300 Win Mag. 300 Win Mag is capable. We're going to come back to that ballistically. And just by way of reference, you know, here's some other common cartridges. Here's a 7.62 by 51 in AMAX, second from the left, and there's a 5.56.
Yeah, that's true.
Can these two rounds accomplish precision long-range shooting? I would discount that one. You know, I've always said I think of this as a 300-yard cartridge. It's definitely more capable. I shot an AR at 450 yards with it and got a pretty good group. But it's a lightweight bullet. It's massively deflected by winds, the 5.56. And a lot of that has to do with your dope. That's why I want to go to a bigger cartridge. Less dope, minimizing those variables we talked about. The 308's capable. It can go out to 1,000 yards. M118, you know, 175 grain match bullet. Yeah, it can do it. More like 700 for me, but it can do it. And it's lightweight, much lighter weight than both of these cartridges, so you can carry more of them. When I talk about the 308 being a heavy hitter, I'm talking about in relation to a 5.56, not these cartridges. In relation to these cartridges, this is the baby. Everything is relative in life. You get that. So 308 is still valid. It's great. And yet, I think you complicate your long-range shooting solution when you go with the 308. 7.62 by 51, you get it. You'd be better off going by one of these two. 300 Win Mag, I've said that in the reviews, and now we're focusing on the 338 Lapua. So 300 Win Mag, really capable to 1,000 yards. If you think you'll only ever shoot to 1,000 yards, think really carefully whether you want to go to a 338. But like I mentioned briefly, to me it's a lot more than just a ballistic advantage of the 338. It is a heavy projectile. Like this one is coming out of, this is a tactical ammunition load. HP BT Burger Hybrid. I love the 300 grain, by the way. In fact, I pretty much mostly shot that. I shot some of these too. S&B 250s, because these are more affordable, you know. The rounds I'm showing you are expensive. They're all expensive, even these. But I love the BC. The higher ballistic coefficient is with the 300 grain loading. So that's what I shot, and that's where I want my system to be, you know, wrapped around that. But it's a lot more besides just the ballistic advantage. Like I was saying, go through metal, go through glass, go through body armor. The less, you know, wind drift is huge to me. Has tolerable barrel wear, the 338 Lapua. And if the gun's built right, like the 110 FCP, it actually has pretty low recoil. That may shock you. You may go, what? But I was shocked at how little recoil this had. It felt like a 308. Yeah, and it's still pushing, what, 5,000 pounds of muzzle energy? Jeez. That's with a 300 grain Lapua Scenar. Jeez. Amazing. All the other philosophy view stuff I covered in that Dispelling Myths of Long Range Shooting. Please check that out. It all applies to this gun, applications of this gun, but we have to have a mini discussion on the 338. I love the cartridge. It's not without fault, though. The fault is extreme expense. You're going to get committed to reloading. You have to reload these. You can't just keep buying these. You're just going to have to reload. I hate reloading. I do. But if I'm going to have to keep shooting these, you know, but you're sponsored, Nutn. Well, now, who knows what the future holds. I'm sponsored now, but I don't get a ton of these. Couple boxes. That's all they can afford. Tactical Ammunition is a small company, dudes. They don't have deep pockets. Like a mom and pop operation. I'm not going to call up and say, I need 1,000 rounds of 338. No. This tabletop review, we shot out our own, you know, ad revenue, dudes. You guys watch the ads. What do you think we do with it? Buy that crap. Buy this crap. Bring it to tabletop. Let's start with a features review, by the way. That's POU. Hope you loved it. This muzzle brake, and I'm shocked, it's perfect. It looks like it came off a freaking Tiger tank, doesn't it? Those concepts were, I'm talking about, you know, recoil mitigation, blast, all that stuff were, you know, solved years ago with all types of different weapons. Savage figured out and go, let's just put that on there. And it's not goofy. Like, you want a goofy muzzle brake, you go look at the Armalite AR-30. Now I think they're only making the AR-30A1. But that's a goofy big muzzle brake. This one is much trimmer, and I got to tell you, from my shooting, it's super effective. I would hesitate greatly taking it off. The only way I would take this muzzle brake off is to put a can on it, which I didn't do. But you can, and it's going to have to be a capable can, you know, like a Thunder Beast, you know, a Dead Air. They're going to come out with some sick silencers. Watch their website. Cool, but I love the brake. Really super awesome. I also love the barrel. Oh my gosh, do I love this barrel. It's fluted, number one, so there is some attention paid to weight savings. It's button rifled, and my understanding is Savage still uses skilled, highly experienced craftsmen to produce their barrels. They hand straighten this sucker after it's done, unless something's changed, and it could have changed. And some guys may roll and go, oh, dude, it should all be CNC, shouldn't it? Well, I'm a big fan of CNC, dudes. You should know that. Huge fan. I love it. But old techniques work. And from the way this gun shot, they got it right. And I believe that's a 24-inch barrel, by the way.
Right there.
Yeah, and some guys, speaking of the barrel, will get really excited about how they head spaced at Savage. You know, they have that right there, the barrel nut. I don't care. I don't care. Who cares? I never look at that. Maybe for your world, a second kind of cool, that really just rocks it. And you go, oh, that sucks. I don't care. You know, to me, this is a user rifle, mostly about for school. I made that abundantly clear. The advantage of this is when they headspace, they can go to minimal tolerance against the bolt face. You want it to be just right. You don't want it too big, right? Because then accuracy will suffer. You don't want it to be too small. Then pressures could rise. So Savage just uses that in the headspace right off the gauge. Boom, done. I like it. No issues at all. I mentioned I love this stock. Obviously free floated, full pistol grip, high traction, which we've seen in this one. And by the way, when you coat it like this one's Duracoated, multiple layers. In some ways, maybe it's better to dip if you want to maintain traction because it's less layers. But as it comes black like this, it's good traction. I love the stock. I don't miss an adjustable cheek piece at all. Maybe you would. I like the flat bottom beaver tail. There's 2 studs here. I'm running, this is not a Harris bipod, it's a knockoff, but it's been working great. Really good. You know, will I coat this? I don't know. If we keep it, maybe I will. Right now, it's tactical black. How about that recoil pad? That's part of the, recoil mitigation. Excellent. I did not tape around the circumference of this because I do want it to grab the shoulder pocket. I want to be able to be really in position, no movement at all. Leaving the sticker on there, of course. What's that freaking X wrench for, Nutn? That's for resetting the dials, so I don't have to go hunting for it because, shooting, dialing, zeroing. This is a gun test gun. It's not a tactical gun, so it's just a practical thing. I just taped it on. I was like, I don't have to go looking for it now. And on this side, I got a freaking table here that reminds me, the equivalents of mil radians at different distances. I prefer to shoot MOA. Don't preach to me about mils. Please don't do that. I ain't gonna listen. Oh, but dude, mils is the way to go. I've been doing it effectively. But if I have all my other guns in MOA, why would I go back and forth? I was stupid to buy that scope. It's a Viper PST. It's an okay scope. I don't totally dig it, but it's okay. Wish I had zero stop turrets, a little bit more eye relief. It's adequately clear. It's illuminated. Doesn't weigh that much. It's okay. About what we'd pay for, like $950 or something. You could spend $5,000 on a piece of optical glass, right? Features review. Oh, dudes, I'm so stoked to bring this to you. So stoked. The AccuTrigger has been fixed. At least in this gun. Maybe some other models it still has it, but it never once side load locked out on it. I mean, it's now the AccuTrigger, in my estimation, is a near perfect tactical trigger. You need to look no further than other manufacturers because they all copy it. Ruger copies it. Other makers are just saying that AccuTrigger is so awesome, we're just going to do the same thing. Mechanically, maybe they achieve the same result in a different way, but it's still a blade in the trigger, and it acts as a safety mechanism, and then once you release it, you have a really clean pull. I'll dispense with electronic trigger scale, but you saw in the philosophy video, it's 2 pounds, 3 ounces. That was out of box. I haven't touched it. It's out of box. I was like, that trigger is so perfect, it doesn't need any work. Now, some guys may get on the trigger, and I shot with some guys who are like, I don't like trigger. I'm like, what do you don't like about it? It's like, well, the trigger face isn't wide enough. I'm like, I didn't notice that problem at all. I just didn't see it. I'm like, I think some guys, because it's a Savage, are just going to look for things. Well, this or that, and they're nitpicking. I'm like, dude, that pulls better than your $5,000, actually $6,000 Desert Tech, probably. Probably. But, guys, when they spend a lot of money on a gun, sometimes they get defensive. Like, well, my gun does this. My gun does that. Oh, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. All I know is I love the AccuTrigger. I wouldn't change anything about it. I didn't even freaking adjust it, like I said. That's going to be cast aluminum bottom metal on the 110 FCP. No problems. Obviously, the gun is light enough. It actually isn't super light, but it's that perfect weight balance for a long-range platform. Not too heavy, not too light. And that takes us to the XLnt magazine. Single stack, 5 rounds is your firepower in .338 Lapua. And the magazine was 100% reliable. And it's I'll tell you, it's so good. And there's your brand right there. It's Accurate Mag, as you can see. It's so refreshing for me to see the magazine-fed bolt-action rifles come to prominence in the shooting world. That's one reason one of several reasons I've fallen out of favor with the 700s. You know, a releasable floor plate, okay, that's great in the 1980s. In the 1990s. Let's go to the max. It's a quick reload. It's reliable. What do I lose? A little bit in weight. So what? I add 5 ounces to the gun,
Nosler Match,
which is pretty light for a steel mag. And I don't remember the weight exactly. If I find out, I'll annotate it. Locks in solidly, doesn't wiggle back and forth. There is an extended release right here. You can actuate that if you're carrying the gun in that area. I never did it, but guys mentioned like, yeah, I'd be careful with that. And I was like, I just never see it. And incidentally, I wouldn't sling this gun. That's just not how I would carry it. I'm going to drag bag it. And that's pretty much what you'll see in TMP. Is I'll drag bag it to location. I'll have other materials in that drag bag if I need to shoot quickly. Although I don't think a precision shot is ever going to happen that quickly. But let's say I do. I'll have the gun in my hand carrying it right about here. This is a point of balance for me, not back here. I love the extended paddle here. Okay, let's take a look at the bolt. It's typical Savage. And some guys may have, you know, by the way, your field strip, same as always. It's just going to be, take the mag out, pull the trigger, push the takedown lever. This gun is kind of an awkward angle, so I got to do it off camera. There we go. Take the bolt out. Done. Field strip. Easy. Make sure these 2 screws are tightened up right here. Out there. They were out of box. I check all the screws of precision rifle. I'll talk about this here in a sec. There's your bolt. It's a multi-piece bolt. You know, it's not milled from a single piece of metal. It's not CNC milled. It's not billet. Some guys will have issue with it. All I can tell you in this tabletop review is that it worked. Okay, it's got Mauser type dual opposing lugs that engage consistently. A very important part of shooting accurately. Wouldn't you agree? Plunger ejector, lug mounted extractor. I'll tell you what, this extractor blows away the 700's extractor. Spring steel extractor, give me a freaking break. I have a feeling with that video I posted on the 700, and as the whole issue gets momentum, you may see some big changes to the 700 for them to stay competitive, because I think it just killed sales. I know, because we can't sell them. We've got 2 we're trying to sell. No one's buying them. Like, I don't want a 700. Darn it, why do I post videos like that? I should sell first and then post a video. What an idiot. The bolt is fine. And this is probably a memmed or cast bolt handle. It didn't break though. And I don't have to do any bolt work to this one, unlike that one. You know, once upon a time, I sent this off to a gunsmith and had a Badger Ordnance bolt knob put on that 700. You know, what'd I pay? $150 after everything was said and done? Pain in the butt expensive. Well, guess what? On the 110 FCP, included. You're going to see that theme repeat itself. It's included. Hey, I want to extend a bolt knob. Why? It's perfect. Perfect rounded. But it's got a casting mark on it. Well, again, if you're after second kind of cool, I get it. I'm not going to criticize you for it. But remember the price point of this gun, which is going to be like street price around $1,350 for a 338 Lapua Magnum? Shut the front door. That's pretty good. It's a factory gun. It's not perfect, you know, but dang, son, that's pretty darn good. I like the bolt. I got no issues with it. I haven't seen any durability issues with it at all. Will I in the future? I don't know. Maybe. By the way, the barrel, I didn't mention it, is a 1-9 twist, so it can stabilize. In my opinion, it does stabilize 300 grain bullets better in 338, from what I've seen. How about that? Tang mounted safety. Positive. Didn't fail at all. Love it. Great location. Serrated. Positive. The rail is included. There's that theme again. It's got some MOA built in it. You can see it right there, right? Like 20 MOA on the Savage rail. This is kind of a slight criticism. I always check my rails when they come out of box, and the screws weren't totally tight. Take your screws out, degrease them, put some blue Loctite on them, crank them down. Problem solved. Those, by the way, are TPS 30mm rings. I think either low or medium on there. They're great rings. Oh, I love TPS rings. They're so good because they're forged aluminum and they don't add a ton of weight. The finish on the gun, as you can see, is matte blue. Works. It's not parkerized, just, you know, bead blasted blue. It's excellent. Features review. I think I got most of the important stuff. Sling studs, and I've talked about. I think it's a little bit ungainly with a bipod and a scope to sling. You'd be better off carrying an Eberly stock pack drag bag. Heck, in Operation Rest, guys, I was running alongside a Kelty Eagle 7850. That works too. I can't talk enough about that freaking muzzle brake though. It's so cool. Remember, this has a 90-degree bolt throw. Tikka's got a little bit shorter. It's like 70. I like that a little bit better. But it's a push feed gun. It's not controlled round feeding. That's about it. Firepower we talked about. It's 5 rounds. Which, considering the caliber, these are all 338 Lapuas. These are the burgers. That's pretty good. This is 3. And that's in 300 Win Mag. Hey, would you want to run a 10 round? No, not for that cartridge. It's too big. You know, if ever they perfect a staggered going to single feed magazine that's reliable, proven reliable, then maybe. But 5 rounds is good. And if you preload the chamber, you're looking at 6 rounds. And you can load just by dropping it. Since it's push feed, you can push your round down here, drop a cartridge. I know I did it. Put it in. Extractor will snap over the rim of the cartridge, and now you got 6 rounds. That takes us to accuracy. Told you this is a fun review. This is really kind of the heart of the review in a lot of people's minds, including my own. Because all the stuff I talked about is fun, it's interesting, it plays. But if the gun isn't accurate to a level that personally excites me, you're not going to see this level of enthusiasm. You're going to see me kind of like I did with 700. I came clean with you guys. Like 700 is not that accurate. 1.5, 2 MOA, and 300 Win Mag loading. That sucks. Let's see what this gun does. 338 Lapua, big cartridge. I've heard reports before I started shooting it. Not that accurate of a cartridge. This is what I got with this gun. This is in the desert shooting off a freaking polymer table. And if someone looks, oh, dude, you should go prone. Really? In a foot of snow, I should go prone. No. Not doing that. It's not doable. We have to shoot off tables sometimes. Look at that. That's shooting this beautiful cartridge, the Nosler Custom Competition, I think. Yeah, Custom Competition, 300 grain Nosler hollow point bowtail. What a great round that is. That's a factory load. Now check this out. Okay, so here's a cluster of 2. One flies off. Cluster of 2, one flies off. That was a tendency of the gun. This gun. And these are all great trigger presses. If I have a bad trigger press, I'll annotate it. This is Tactical Doodles group. Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3 down here. Not shooting as good as Dad that day. Here comes a Seller and Bellet 250 grain match. I stamped this with a freaking collectible stamp. I put these on the web store. Guy puts in a big order. He just gets it for free. These targets, so I'm going to show you the 1,000-yard target. That ain't free. So that opened up. I mean, that's that S&B stuff. Box fell down here. It's good ammo, but is it good 1,000-yard ammo? I don't know. I hate their box. Dang, man, you have the brass. As soon as you take these rounds out, the whole box disintegrates. I mean, tactical ammunition gets it. Do that. The guy's going to reload for sure. Why don't you give him a case? He better reload, otherwise he's going to have to sell his car. Nice group there. That's a side-in. That's Tactical Doodle. Look at that. That's Seller and Bellet shooting into 3/4 MOA. Now, granted, it's 100 yards, but this one was sighting in the gun. I want to go fast. I hate going through all these targets, but you guys want to know. Nosler Custom Competition. That one didn't do so great. Tactical ammunition. This, by the way, was yesterday. That's at 300 grain hybrid at 100 yards. So 1, 2, 3 through a round. There it is again. 1, 2, 3 through a round. Tac ammo. 1, 2, 3 through a round. And when I say throw, it's not a lot, but there is a flyer. And this tactical ammunition, to be totally honest, was not shooting as good as a Nosler Custom Competition. Granted, that group's not representative, but this one is. Dang, son. That's accurate. That's out of 110 FCP. That is, I will call it half MOA. With very careful shooting. I cannot overemphasize that. When I mean, your trigger pull is just perfect. Your stability is perfect. If you throw it at all, it's off. I mean, it is a high recoiling round, even though the gun is set up, does great. This is 600 yards. Nosler Custom Competition, 300 grain. That's over an MOA. And I don't really know what happened, but I'm just bringing the table. And I had some other groups like that at like 200 yards. Not this bad, but it's kind of jumping around. I don't know. So I wasn't shooting it all into like 1 MOA. I was working. How about this one? Come to the end. of the accuracy stuff. That's 200 yards. Here we go with the trend again. 1, 2, flyer. That is a tendency. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget to talk about it. There we go again. Why does it do that? I don't know. You know, sometimes I do it from cold bore. Sometimes I didn't let it cool down. I don't think that made a big difference. Maybe it did. I didn't really pay attention. It did kind of bug me. Not gonna lie. Seller and Bellet. Not a bad group here, and there's subsiding rounds here. And then for the Coupe de Gras, here comes a 1,000-yard target. It will be for sale, by the way. Not cheap, because I don't have many of them. In fact, I have just this one, and they cost a heck of a lot for us to do them. This is, make sure I'm telling you the range right. Yeah, it is a no kidding 1,000-yard target. It's so freaking big, I can't even put it on the table. Who needs a fat head when you got a Nutnfancy 1,000-yard target for your wall? I almost want to keep this. That's a rip. So this is 560 yards. This group right here, 1, 2, 3, pretty good. I couldn't believe it, but we shot it. That's a 3-round Nosler 300 1,000-yard group measuring about 4 inches. Oh wait, there might be a flyer right here. There's that tendency again. So, well, if I count that, it ain't no 4 inches. But still, that's pretty dang good, don't you think? 1,000 yards? Holy freak. Wow. Here's another 1,000 yards. Open tip match. So here's 1 round, 2 round, 3 rounds. By the way, I put this tape on the target right here in the center because if I don't, these old targets from the 1980s are military surplus. I had to look everywhere for them. They'll rip in half. Have to tape the perimeter too. That's what the gun can do. 1,000 yards. Jeez, I'm just so happy with it. And I went out, I told you in the philosophy video, I went out and I could not duplicate this. I was like, boom, 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 boom. Why? I don't know. My human factors suck, I guess. I'll say the accuracy level of the 110 FCP, 1 MOA. I won't say it's an easy MOA. I'll just say it's 1 MOA. With ammo it likes. If it's shooting ammo it doesn't like, it's not going to be 1 MOA. You saw the results yourself. I did not hand load for it. I would like to experiment with it sometime and see how it does. I suspect it will do pretty good with particular hand loads. But there again goes the POU of recreation, hobby. It's a passion. You're just working. If I got this gun, I'd find out a load it really likes. It did like this one. And I'd stock up. But to get good at shooting this, you have to shoot. So that probably, again, brings you to reloading. Accessories. A bipod, I'd get an extra magazine. And the good news is they're not overly expensive, relatively speaking. 110 bucks is not cheap. But it's not a $270 Seiko TRG 42 magazine. And you can find them. I bought this off eBay. Well, that's cool. It's a Savage. It's American made, man. It's like a Chevrolet. You can find parts for your Corvette. You have a Ferrari, maybe not so much. Remember what I said about getting into the 338. We're talking accessories. You're going to be pretty much committed to reloading. That means dies, powder, reloading press. I recommend either a single stage or a turret press. And all the accessories go along with that. A way to accurately measure powder, probably a digital scale, and a lot of time. That's it. I mean, it's not a gimme. I would think long and hard before I went with a 338 Lapua versus a 300 Win Mag. Ask yourself, which one would you like? I already told you the reasons why I went 338. You could shoot yourself into the poorhouse with a 338 Lapua mag. I think some guys get into the chambering and they go, oh man, this gun is so cool. And then they find out, I can't afford to shoot this. And then they sell it. So, you know, before you build a house, calculate your costs. I'm going to flip this sucker around so you can see this side. I would calculate the costs. I'm kind of committing to it. I was like, I like it for recreation, for the challenge, and for the very slim possibility I may need it someday, if you get my drift. This thing hits hard. It kind of has an anti-vehicle capability. Not like a 50 BMG. I mean, a 50 BMG, dude, that's anti-vehicle. And if you talk about the military loadings, you know, the AP, the incendiary, dude, they're amazing. I wish I could get those, just for fun. Just for blowing up, you know, junkyard cars. Other accessories, I wouldn't change the stock. Maybe a suppressor. You're going to have to put some glass on it. It doesn't come with sights, obviously. And that's it. wrapping it up. Let's talk about options. Other guns you might consider. You could get a Remington 700P in 338 Lapua, right? They do make it. I checked tonight and there's a freaking recall out on for shooting 250 grain Scenars. There we go again. Remington with another recall. I shouldn't say that. A lot of manufacturers have them, but no. I'm not going to go with a spring steel extractor. You know, actually it's a magazine fed, not a floor plate one. I'm just kind of disenfranchised with the 700 until it's improved. I'm really doubting its accuracy after years and years of testing. It's about $1,800. Maybe you like it. It does have kind of a funky compensated barrel that non-threaded. This one's threaded. You can put a can on it. The 110 FCP. Not so much the 700. So consider that. Also, maybe you're super rich. And this is a cool gun. I talked to Ronnie Barrett. This is a cool gun. The Barrett MRAD. You go buy one of those. What are those? Like $9,000, $10,000? You can get them for $6,000 used. The MRAD is a great gun. I cannot fault it except for price. You know, Barrett just charges a lot for his guns. And he gets them. But they're not readily available. I clicked around tonight. How many MRADs are for sale? I hardly saw any.
It's addictive, isn't it?
You know? That thing naked is 14 pounds too. It's going to be, what, 4 pounds heavier than this without optics? Some guys don't care. They're like, hey, I'm just shooting off the back of my truck. I don't care. Me, I want to be able to carry it if and when I have to. Get me? Another option. The Remington MSR. That's 17 pounds. 17 pounds full up, I should say. About 13 pounds without any accessories. And maybe this is wrong, but I saw a price on that in Gunbroker for $16,000. What? Remington MSR. Maybe that's just not readily available to civilians. It's a military one. I'm not impressed. I don't care if it was $6,000. I wouldn't buy one. I talked about the Armalite AR-38-1. It's 13.5 pounds, about $3,000. They call it the Lapua Target. I didn't see on Armalite's website the regular AR-30, and I don't think that gun ever took off. I don't think anybody was like, oh, AR-30 is awesome. I thought very seriously early in TMP about getting one. I just couldn't get stoked. I was like, man, maybe we'll get that 338. I'm like, no, not doing it. And I did talk to a buddy of mine. He's like, yeah, it shoots good, but it's really crude. And it kind of turned it off. He was turned off by it. Could be totally off. And again, maybe you are going to sell your car, mortgage your house, second mortgage on your house, and you can buy a Desert Tech SRS A1. You know, you had the chassis, the caliber conversion. What are you, $6,000? From what I know, the Desert Techs are awesome, though. They are cool guns. They're capable. They're excellent. I can't really fault them, except, again, kind of like the MRADs for price. And I'm not going to cover every 338 Lapua option. We'll be here all freaking night. But it's too expensive. That kind of gets to the gist of what we're talking here. So street, $1,350. I mean, it's shooting one MOA with the right ammo. It's got a great trigger. It's got an excellent magazine system. The stock is awesome. What do you have to do to this gun? See why I'm excited about the gun? It's like it's the best, in my opinion, 338 factory 338 Lapua Magnum out there. If you want to go custom, you're going to shrink those groups down to, quarter MOA maybe, half MOA. The question you got to ask yourself is, how much do I want to spend? It's kind of like a bike. You can get a really good mountain bike for $2,000, but then to save those couple pounds, you're going to be spending what, $7,000, $10,000 more to get a super, super light bike? Is it worth it? I'm going to bring to the table some other options, not in 338 Lapua, that won't hit as hard, but are very ballistically efficient to 1,000 yards. Again, keep watching. Maybe that one will better suit your needs. It will be a lot better in SAWC as far as a cartridge loadout is concerned. You're going to be able to carry in that gun a lot more cartridges. You probably already know what it is. You saw it in the philosophy video, but I don't want to talk about it quite yet. Last but not least, and I said I love this gun, and I do. I just love the Seiko TRG-42. It's cool. It's about $3,600. That, to me, is more in the realm of reality versus Desert Tech versus MRAD. The Barrett offerings. That's not horrible. That's doable to a lot of guys. $3,600 for precision 338 Lapua. It's proprietary. You're going to be spending money on expensive magazines, but dang, I hear they shoot really good. I love them. End of competitive options. How about track record? It was pretty much perfect. No jams, positive extraction, ejection, no magazine problems. You know, a couple groups went wild. I don't know why. Probably me. Human factors, bro. What can I tell you? We all shoot bad some days, but I brought to the table what the gun is capable of doing. Right? The Savage 110 FCP and 338 Lapua is a great gun. Great long range, ultra long range precision rifle. You can range out to 1,700 yards with this. You might want to consider, you know, we're talking about 300 Win Mag. If you're going to commit to a 300 Win Mag, you're probably going to reload that too. That's an expensive round. And so you might want to consider, you know, I go with a little additional cost. Maybe I'll just go 338. I'm almost there. And then you get all those beautiful capabilities of a very hard-hitting, I consider kind of an intermediate cartridge. You know, it's not a 375 Shy Tac, 416 Barrett, 408 Shy Tac, or 50 BMG, but it's pretty darn good. And I'll tell you what, that's a great launching platform for it. The Savage 110 FCP.
Recoil is
See
nothing.
ya.
I know. Dude, I was thinking I would get reamed by that freaking brake.
It feels like a 308.
It
with that
sounded
brake
like a
on it.
308. Granted, I got double ears too, but
Yeah.
it's soft.
Pussy cat, dude. Awesome. It's like that.
Stoked.